Hey everybody, welcome live from Google Cloud Next here. We're doing the DisrupTV show. Actually, I'm in Vegas. Everyone left. So here we have the amazing co-host, Vala Afshar, and of course, our producer, Elle. And we got three guests here, and a fourth will join us in a bit. We'll do it in reverse entry and order. We'll start with Richie. Welcome back to the show, Richie. Tell us a little bit what you're talking about, and more importantly, real quickly, what we're going to hear about in the next few seconds.
Well, thank you for inviting me back. I think this is my sixth time. Last time I was here, I gave you guys an update on where I am, and I'm going to give you another update again. It has to do with product market fit and customer excitement. Think about this as like you're the what's the guy on CNBC? The mad money.
Kramer.
I'm going to give you the mad money of startups update today.
Very, very cool. That's awesome. And we got Ian and Chris. Ian, since you haven't been here before, we'll start with you first. What are you going to be talking about today? And
yeah, great to be.
So
yeah, I'm actually based in Lehi, Utah today, and that's where I currently live. But yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to our chat today. We got a lot to discuss. There's a lot of things in transition around the world and in the markets and in leadership. And so happy to discuss some of these things today with you guys.
Sounds great. And of course, welcome back, Chris. So where are you coming in from? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm in San Jose area. It's great to be here again. And thank you, Ray and Vala and Al. Really excited to dive into really leadership in this time of disruption, how people can be brave and lean in, exercise deep skills and, shape the future in brave ways.
Very, very cool. Well, hey, thank you for being here. And of course, we'll turn it back to Elle for the count and we'll kick off the show and we'll join Esteban Kolsky, who will come in the middle with some very surprising announcements. All right.
Well,
here's Elle.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on X at DisrupTV Show. Send Ray, myself, and our distinguished guests your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them live. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO and founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I see my friend on TV just about every day, CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg. He's everywhere. He's also one of the top futurists to follow on X at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm here with Vala Afshar, the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of multiple books, including Balance, A New Mindset for Unlimited Business Success, and a #1 seller on Amazon. I hear he might be working on another new book. Executives around the world pay attention to every one of his inspirational, insightful tweets. And when he's not keynoting leading events at Salesforce, you can find him speaking on business TV outlets such as Bloomberg, ABC, and of course, posting insightful analyses on ZDNet. But it's not about us. It's about amazing guests. And who do we have coming back?
We have one of our favorite guests coming back, and he brought his partner in crime with him, Chris Deaver and Ian Clawson, co-author of Braves Together, and co-founders of BraveCore. BraveCore helps companies build cultures people love. Chris is the quiet force behind some of the most innovative leadership initiatives at global companies you may have heard of, like Disney, Apple.
Never heard of them. What are you talking about?
Chris's work with Tim Cook's leadership team at Apple contributed to the cultural shift behind the successful products like iPhone and the AirPod, influencing Apple's historic $1 trillion valuations. Chris also shaped Disney's next-gen platform, the groundbreaking development in Star Wars, Marvel, and Avatar. Chris is the co-author of Brave Together. Last time Chris was here, we dug deep into Brave Together, a breakthrough leadership book featured in Next, a Big Idea Club with Malcolm Gladwell and Adam Grant. Chris's expertise has been recognized by Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Inc., all the major publications that you're aware of. Ian Clawson is a master storyteller and cultural architect, bringing meaning and innovation to leadership and future of work. As co-founder of BraveCore, again, a leadership consultancy, Ian has partnered and advised startups and Fortune 500 companies to drive multi-million-dollar growth by streamlining operations, influencing leadership, and building culture people love. I love that. I love that tagline. Ian's work has been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, Training Industry, Big Think. He's again co-author of Brave Together, a groundbreaking book on principles-based leadership and co-creation. He's also co-host of a popular Lead with a Question podcast. Welcome both Chris and Ian to Disrupt TV. And sorry I had to cut your bios short. We only have 20 minutes.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you. It's so great to be here. Great
Hey,
to be
we're
here.
excited to have you. And as you can tell, it's been a turbulent week here. Lots of things, lots of change. We're what we're calling the Great Reset. Lots of things changing at the same time, from politics to economics to what's happening in tech. And all this stuff is actually changing the way we look at leadership. And so what can leaders do to create strong cultures when the economy is uncertain, the pressure is high, there's chaos, people are feeling uncomfortable? Are there techniques that you've seen that have worked?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're at a time that it's no longer that nice canoe trip down that river that's, predictable, linear. It's all changing. It's the river raft and everything's shaking all the time, it feels like. And so the opportunity, to your point, is you really can lean in, right? This is a time for leaders, if they step back in fear and they wonder, how do I just kind of preserve the status quo? They're gonna lose the opportunity to really influence the future. And it's now's the best time there's ever been, really, to shape culture, to reset culture as well, as the ultimate competitive advantage, to do that with intention. And you know I'll let Ian take it from here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we live in a tumultuous time. There's so much shifting, so much division. And right now we need leaders to help us with that clarity, right? To help us establish trust within our teams. And so right now, we've heard the term FOMO, fear of missing out. Some people might be feeling that with the stock market or AI, right? There's another term, I think, which most leaders fit in this category. It's FOMO. It's fear of messing up. And so we live in a time where there's a lot of gray area, a lot of wait and see, but society doesn't have a similar pace that we're used to do that wait and see. And so we got to be more agile. We got to be digging deep. We got to look internal, and we got to look in the mirror at times as leaders to really assess, how are we showing up for our team? How are we showing up in our culture? Are we setting a tone, or are we complacent or complicit?
Let's focus on that second word in your book, together. Sometimes people think being brave is a solo act, but as a leader, as somebody who's trying to grow a company, bring benefit to all stakeholders, employees, customers, partners, the word together is very powerful. How do you do that? And you both are dealing with the biggest, most successful companies on earth. So the assumption is, if you're an executive at an Apple or a Disney, you've weathered the storm. You're brave. You're courageous. You're bold. You're innovative. And yet they're bringing you in, and I suspect they're bringing you in because you help spread some of that goodness across not just the CEO and his or her staff, but the entire company, and creating that culture of togetherness. Tell us how you do that and why that's so important and meaningful work for you.
Absolutely. I mean, we love spending time with leaders, with cultures, really thinking about how can we break out of fear, right, and be brave and lean in together. And these are things that we know as human beings. We know it in our family. We know it in our friendships. What works And it's really those deep relationships, right? It's breaking through the surface. And how often do, leaders and teams and, kind of the way organizations have been just stay on the surface and be so incremental about things. And that is the problem, right? And so the opportunity being, how do we go deeper? It's not just about soft skills or hard skills and soft skills. It's about deep skills. And in the depths, if we're building adaptability, we're building vulnerability with others to show up authentically together and build a dream team, right? That can create things. I mean, we see this in sport, right? We just saw it in the in March Madness. I mean, these teams, you know, that ended up, in the fight in the championship. Most of us don't know, the names. There's a few there and there that, but really these were teams. I mean, Houston did it. They just came together, and Florida, to their credit, they weren't 5-star picks. They just came together as a team, and that's the spirit of what we're seeing, where leaders are really looking at winning the future. Is they're taking the notions of team and they're doubling down, and they're being brave, and they're doing it in ways that are innovative, doing things that they may not have done before. But also, to Ian's point, this is kind of a Marcus Aurelius thing, is like the inner struggle, being willing to go within to expand further without, and to build together.
I love that. I love your analogy and team chemistry, because you rarely hear that in business. Like, I don't know the last time somebody described a business to me and said,
true.
Paula, wait till you meet this CEO and her team. They've got great team chemistry. And they may have it. It's just we don't necessarily speak to getting into that flow state like these athletes get into, because they have the right teammate and support structure around them. And March Madness is a perfect example, because you're right. Most of these folks we haven't heard from, and yet you see how spectacular they can be under the most amount of pressure. I mean, the most amount of pressure. I mean, most of those games were won by a bucket or two. So it came down to like one misstep or one great play, and you're a national champion. So it's so
Or not. Or not.
or not.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
63 of them weren't. So yeah, it's or not. So
Yeah.
right.
But part of this is really that level of trust, right? How do you build that culture? How do you get the trust into place, right? I mean, you guys talk about the need for co-creation in hyperdrive, but to get co-creation in hyperdrive, you have to trust each other. What are some factors? How do leaders bring that back for that level of trust? Because we're in short-term thinking mode. Everybody does something for a project. It's very transactional. It's not very strategic. It's very hard to be strategic, especially if you're only on the board for like 3 years. You first year you're cutting costs, second year hoping to get something in play, third year hope you get your job, and if you make it to the fourth year, it's because you did something right the second year, right? I mean, people aren't thinking strategically, and these are publicly traded companies, and they're more there's less publicly traded companies now than private companies, because people don't want that scrutiny. So in these times of leadership, how do we regain that trust?
Yeah, I would say most leaders that we've interacted with in the last year and a half, especially, have been very guarded in terms of growth.
Oh yeah.
Their big talking point is, we need more revenue. It's business growth, right? And that's tends to be the focus. What people are skipping over is the people growth. So the mechanisms, the ingenuity that is behind these builds and this growth. And so making that investment requires trust. It's involving your team and people in ideation, right? Problem solving, right? Being more transparent in meetings where teams have clarity and people on the front lines can actually weigh in at times and give a unique perspective. I think that's what we're missing, in contrast to, the growth mode most leaders are after.
Chris, what do you see as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is leaders that are exercising deep skills in themselves and in their team are willing, to be bold, to make bold moves that are meaningful. Right? It's we're not living in the information age anymore. This is the contextual age, and in the contextual age, it's not just about finding meaning; it's about building meaning together. And as you do this, most we see this generationally in the rising generations in the workforce. They want more and more purpose, but really what we're all after is building purposeful work. and products and services that have meaning in our lives. And there are things that AI can do that we can partner with AI to accomplish. But this in particular is something that still requires great leaders and great teams working together to build it. And what I'll also add to that is, you said trust, and absolutely. How does trust work? Well, to your earlier question too, Vala, I think, how does the leader show up with not all the answers, right? We live in a world where so many people in their careers and leaders who are incumbents or sitting in roles have been rewarded for decades for having the answers and being the experts and showing up like a dump truck and just dumping the answers and, hey, I'm good, and walk away.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work anymore. And it doesn't work on the level of, generationally speaking, where there's more of a collective mindset. We talk about Gen Y and Z, that they want this collective team approach that we've been talking about and that we see so obviously in sport. But that's also so much more true in an economy and in a market and in a world where everything's so interconnected, right? Having a systems mindset, a platform mindset, that if a leader brings that to the table, they're not interested in just being the expert or the expert model. They're interested in leading with questions, being curious, building bridges, right? Connecting dots, as Steve Jobs would say, and finding ways to do that may be different, right, than what we've done in the past. And I think we're seeing success is we're seeing leaders lean into that approach.
What amount of deep reflection for a CEO not to show up with his S on his chest and the cape and acting like the hero here to save the day, and versus one who is again building togetherness and co-creating value and optimism and courage. For startup founders, young entrepreneurs like Richie listening, who's going to be on our show, anchoring the show. We have lots of startup founders. Give us what's one step that can take where they can shift from a hero mindset to a co-creator mindset.
Yeah, one example of this, we're talking to one right now, is a good friend. He sold a company that he built for hundreds of millions of dollars. He could easily go live on a beach in Key West and be good for the rest of it. Be set, right? Drinking pina coladas. But he doesn't want to do that, right? Like we're talking about creating purpose. Well, we want, inside of us is this innate need to build things. And what is he starting with? Well, we're working with him, and he said, and we're saying, well, this notion of building a team, he's interested in that as a starting point, like build a brain trust, right? He knows too, they're getting in this AI space, and AI, it's still up for grabs. It's very TBD as to what this is going to become. There's a lot of, like what Mark Andreessen describes as rice out there. Like, who knows what the value is or what people are actually going to pay for it. There's a lot of money going in, but not a lot of money coming out yet. But where does that value get extracted, and how does that happen over time? And how do you build meaningful business models that can converge with customer needs? Well, what we know from, whether it's Pixar or Apple or any of these great companies that have built meaningful products, is they build meaning into the experience. So the input becomes the output, and the customers will value what we've invested in that emotionally too. And and there's other truths that are interrelated that this depends on, but the main point being, you build a brain trust, as Ed Catmull would say in Creativity Inc., or what we would say co-creation, and you're co-creating together in a way that's egos off the table and building blocks on the table, and you're going to be winning the future. It may feel like a few steps back to actually accomplish that and to build a rhythm in your team. And if you're asking, hey, organizationally, how do you go about this? Like, let's take, Salesforce or other big companies, and this, Vala, or Ray, you work with a lot of these kind of companies. And, how do you get started, right? How do you get started when there's so much complexity in these organizations? Well, one simple way is to think holistically as a leader and to say, what if instead of just having our staff meeting and just building, in essence, this vertical, and, at the risk of becoming a silo, what if we build or we start doing cross staff meetings with those key stakeholders across other organizations? We make a commitment to once a week, we're sitting down, we're being transparent, and this is the team, right? Wow. this software head, this, or, software, hardware, operations person, retail, whatever it is, we're all sitting together and we're being very transparent, and we're calling the plays, we're high-fiving, we're building what we need to do, an ego-free environment. And that kind of thing creates the perpetual motion, the elusive perpetual motion machine that everybody said was impossible, that, Da Vinci took a stab at, Tesla took a stab at, but this actually is how you accomplish it. It's people powered and it's culture powered.
Love that.
Wow.
Love that. And it's deliberate outreach. I love the fact that, it's radical transparency, it's vulnerability, but also you got to be deliberate about it. It's togetherness. It's funny to me. It's down to 4 words. Like, what do you think? Like, how often do people come and ask you for your feedback?
So true.
Across, the silo mentality prevents us from reaching out and often asking for help when we need it. So I really appreciate the braveness that you champion.
Yeah, and the hardest truth is if we ourselves are a silo, right? And we don't know it personally. And that's the
100%.
biggest mirror test, right? Is like, how do I break out of that? And what do I need to do differently? And you can do it. I mean, you both are great examples of, the stuff you do, the work you do, this podcast. This is all about breaking out of a silo and connecting
Brave together. You guys are living it.
Yeah, Ray's going to replace me with a GPT Vala version very soon. My days are numbered.
We're here with Chris Deaver, co-author of Brave Together and co-founder of BraveCore, and Ian Clawson, co-author of Brave Together. Check out the mirror test, the hero sacrifice, become the future. Read the book, get it on Amazon. Thank you for being here on the show today.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Ooh, look at that.
Just, I love the together part of it. To me, that's the essence of.
Are we setting a trend of most broadcast in the car?
We
gotta get in the car.
I wanted to be the guy calling from the car, but Chris beat me to it. So I'm the second guy calling from the car.
It looks like you're also in an Italian classic, so this is great. We've got.
I'm on a German classic. I'm on a Volkswagen Tiguan SEL.
Oh, nice. Okay,
yeah.
But for those of you watching,
name on a German
I got to go through my introductions before.
Okay, go for it.
Although I think most of our audience knows who you are, Esteban Kolsky. This is breaking news, by the way. I'm breaking news. Esteban Kolsky, Chief Distiller, Vice President and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research. I believe this is breaking news. We're going to talk a lot about what that means, Chief Distiller. I thought I had the coolest title, and now I'm taking a back seat to Chief Distiller. Esteban started his career, as most of you knew, as one of the most influential research directors at Gartner, nearly decade covering CRM and all aspects of customer service, customer experience management, anything to do with delighting customers. He was the lead researcher at Gartner. Then he decided, for the next decade or so, I'm going to be my CEO and founder of an executive strategic advisory firm, ThinkJar. And he did that for a decade. And, until he was recruited by this small company called SAP in 2019. And they said, hey, we're looking for a chief strategy officer ourselves. So come join us and help shape our customer experience strategy, go to market. And he did that for a long time. Now, in his current role, Chief Distiller, Esteban's tasked with creation of a research and advisory service for board members. And by the way, Constellation Research has hundreds of board members that are part of that, maybe thousands. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't. Sorry. Yeah.
Dude, don't blow the lead.
He's sending me an NDA to sign right now. Research into service board members based on distilling. Maybe I got a hint into the title. Distilling research into customized, consumable information that they can in turn use to make better decisions, faster decisions, and have fruitful conversations. Talk about Brave Together. This is Brave Together at the board level. So this is why these guests are back to back. Welcome, Esteban.
You're my new press agent. You're hired. I cannot even try to pretend to be everything that he just said that I am. But thank you. I appreciate that intro.
Congratulations. And what better birthday gift What better birthday
That's the
gift?
breaking news.
Oh God, here we go. Here we go.
Come on, all of you watching, you know exactly where to reach them. Birthday wishes better be coming in.
It's wonderful to turn 35. I never thought that I'd make it this far in life, but it's
I
a
get.
wonderful feeling.
We're really
You're
happy to have
looking
you on
good. You're
board,
looking
and
good.
Esteban.
I appreciate that. And actually, you know what? Here's the deal. I mean, Constellation has thousands of board members, and the ones board members that are clients, and the ones that are not, every single other board member in the world that is not is a friend of Ray's anyway. So this is
Yes.
the reason why I'm here. We had many conversations over the years on how we can actually extend the work that we've done over the last 30 some years in research into getting to the right places. As we get older, the right places are no longer at the entry point. And it's not about selecting a product or implementing a product or comparing two products. It's about how does a board member get a better conversation and makes a better decision.
It
And
is.
Ray has been graceful enough, and I'm forever grateful that he gave me the runway to both leverage Constellation and the name, the reputation, and the client list as a place to grow something that I've been trying to put together for the last year. So
What a great
here we are.
incredible ecosystem community of board members. I've attended the annual conference Constellation Connect. It's funny, Connect, and we just talked about togetherness for over a decade, and some of the most powerful men and women who own some significant budgets across multiple industries. These are some of the most powerful buyers in the world. And you are probably the person that is on stage more than anybody else other than Ray. So you've been part of the Constellation family for well over a decade. What was it thinking? At what point did you realize, look, success is about who you work with, and these are some of the best people I've had a chance to share stage with every year. It's time for me to come in and turbocharge this community and take advantage of some of your incredible wisdom.
See, that's a great question, because ever since I left Gardner, it's all been about working with the right people. Look, anybody can do any job if they want to. That's not the point. I mean, the three of us in this call right now, we show that we can do anything that's possible once we set our minds to it. It's just finding the right place with the right people where you bring the value to shine, and that's what it is. It's been a decade plus that I've been working with Ray and Constellation and as an advisor, and distilling my advice to him that he chose to thankfully ignore most of it, so he could keep growing Constellation. And we both got to the same point where we are like, look, we need to get to the next level. The next level is going up. It's going to the board, going to the executives, doing something that nobody else can do, so they can actually get value from it. And that's where we are today. It's been, this is literally for me a culmination of 30 plus years of doing market research. At some point you realize that ChatGPT can do better market research than you can, if the information exists. Right. But then what's the value that you put on top of that? That's what distilling is all about. Distilling is about building value on top of what an LLM or an AI can build. It's not about doing something better or different. It's about building value on top. And there's very, very, very few people in this world that can do a good job of taking what ChatGPT give you and begin to cross-tab and cross-reference to things that are outside of its purview, and begin to find incredible insights that nobody else saw, or find information that makes a conversation worthwhile having. And that's what we're trying to build.
Does the convergence of uncertainties serve as a catalyst for you to decide to join Constellation? Because at no time in my 30-year career in tech has there been more uncertainty, and this is not just tech uncertainty. Forget about what's happened in the last week or two, but I mean, in terms the macro micro convergence of uncertainties, which means as a good board member, you only join a board if you genuinely feel like you can help the CEO and his or her company grow. And right now, I have to tell you, doesn't matter where you sit in the org chart, including the CEO, there's an incredible amount of uncertainty. So how much pressure is there on your shoulder and Constellation to now serve as trusted advisors to these men and women who are shaping the direction of the biggest, most powerful, fastest growing companies?
What uncertainty? We're growing as an economy 5% year over year. The world is growing 3.5% steady, every single country. Up and coming countries are growing at 20%. There's no uncertainty to speak of in the economic world.
I
And
love the
if you go to
optimism.
enterprise tech, technology is not changing at all. It's just basically the same that it's been forever. ERP and CRM continue to rule the world as they always have. Customers are satisfied. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I love it. I love whatever
Well,
lunch
there's no
you
brand
had.
reputational risk either. So yeah.
Yeah.
What's this
I mean,
cybersecurity?
you want to talk about pressure. There's pressure because the people that are actually doing the advice is not me. I'm the little angel on the shoulder whispering certain nothings that that they can do whatever they want with. It's up to them what they do with that, or what they go and tell the CEO of a Caesars Entertainment or a J&J or even a Tesla. Hey, this is the way we need to know because I got this data, I got this information, I got these insights, and I think we can create a distinguished path for us that will get us to the next level. That is what the board is supposed to do with the company. And if I can provide some amount of extra valuable information for them to do that, excellent. That's what I'm here for.
Great.
Yeah, no. And what does that mean to be a chief distiller? Let's start there. So we'll set the record
So I
straight.
wrote an article on LinkedIn yesterday that says it's time to get distilling, and my two passions in life are research and spirits. I mean, good spirits, right? Uh, Look, distilling spirits is really, really simple. You get a bunch of shit, you boil the hell out of it, and then when it gets fermented, you capture the alcohol vapors and turn it back into liquid. It's liquid gold. It's fantastic, right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can grab barley and corn and rye and make a mash, ferment it, boil it, capture the alcohol. I mean, God, on TV, MASH 4077, one of the best, series of all time. They had a distiller built into their tent. Anybody can do that. The question is not distilling. The question is finding, creating amazing value out of distilling. There's no difference in the process that it takes to create an old number 7 Jack Daniels from what it takes to create a TB Handley or a 23-year-old Pappy Van Winkle. The process is the same. It's knowing what goes into it and how you actually capture the right amount of alcohol and how do you process it so you get the insights. And that's what distilling means. It means I go through all the data that we have available today, even what ChatGPT produces as outcome. Go through all that, find the different pieces, create the right balance between the components. So when you actually create something, it's absolutely delicious. And that's what I'm trying to do is distill the information into insights and data points that help you make a better decision.
Liz reminds us that you're only here for the snacks. And I have to tell you, CCE and most all of the Constellation events have amazing food. So there's probably some nuggets of truth in that. I was presented a survey yesterday of 400 exact number 419 CEOs, and the topics that rose to a word cloud.
Who did the survey? Who did the survey?
I'll leave that. I'll leave that offline because it was a briefing, private briefing.
Okay.
But the three top of mind words that came out of these 419 CEOs was number 3, trust. Number 2, growth. And number 1, and for the first time ever, it rose in the top 3, let alone number 1, was innovation. So 419 CEOs global. This was North America, EMEA, and Asia Pac. So innovation. So certainly technology is becoming a boardroom discussion. CEOs are responsible for helping folks on the board understand their technology strategy. Where do you see, if you can fast forward a year from now, where do you see spending your time researching and distilling? Is it the cultural leadership trust element? Is it understanding go-to-market and competitors and how to grow? Or is it really making sense of some of the technologies that are part of the large part of the investment thesis currently for CEOs?
So it's funny that you said that because I actually did my own informal survey last year of dozens of CEOs and C-level people, and the 3 words that came out were growth, resiliency, and sustainability. So growth is definitely up there, right?
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying this is because I take those words, I take those thoughts. Part of the service that we're producing is like, constant interviews with board members and advisors, not just doing things on like what I think it is, but what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
5 minutes, once a month, tell me the top 3 things that come to mind right now. I'll write them down and then I'll cross out all this and I'll tell you the 5 things that everybody's thinking about once a month.
Okay, so
right?
quick pulse check. So 12 times a
Yep.
year, Constellation is going to give a quick pulse, because what we thought maybe 30 days ago may be different than today, given what the world has just experienced in the past week.
What was Monday is different than today, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
But the thing is, like, let's do a pulse check. Once a month. Not everybody, of course, because you can't get 1,000 board members to talk to you once a month. But let's do a rotating basis, 2 or 3 times a year. You're gonna tell me what you're thinking about, and I will compile all that, and I'll come up with a thing. Right now, growth is number 1 by far. And when you talk about growth, then how far do you go? Is it growth because consistent operations and resilient operations, or is it because we're in the middle of a recession, and then how do we come out of the recession with growth? Or is it because AI is offering new opportunities, and those opportunities need to be the funnel into growth? That's the type of thinking that I'm doing. I'm going through like, this is what you're thinking about. Let me think about the implications. Let me go find all the research that exists out there. Let me go through it, find the data nuggets that are actually interesting, cross tab them, so you have the data nugget to something else, right? And then come up with like 3-5 insights every month. That's what you get. You get the data points, you get the insights, and you get what the topics that matter. 5 topics every month. But every quarter we refresh the topics. Once a year we refresh the whole thing. We look forward 1, 2, 3 years, and then the topics that matter. Just like the survey that you were offered, I will have something like that will be like pretty much a living document that will be constantly updated.
I love that. If you ever want to publish any of this ZDNet, I would love to co-author your findings with you. But anyway,
happy to.
I'll make that ask.
I have to check with the boss first. First, but
He's tough. He's tough. He's never co-authored a post with me, but he's a tough guy. But go ahead, Ray.
That is an interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
We have to fix that. We must fix that.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, but we have, Esteban, welcome to the team. You've always been part of the family.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here. Really excited that you're here. And more importantly, happy birthday. I know you're off to a birthday lunch, so we will not hold you up. Well, he's going to exit the car and enter an amazing experience. Hopefully better than the experience he had last night with us. But yeah.
No, nothing. By the way, if you ever want to go to the best meal of your life and then do it again, go to dinner with Ray twice.
Yeah, I agree. He's the best. He's the top foodie.
It could be a hole in the wall.
I don't know where he finds these places, but oh my God.
They're actually places I don't necessarily always feel safe going to, because they're literally a hole in the wall, but amazing places nonetheless. Our next guest is also a foodie. I've had some amazing meals with Richie.
Okay, Esteban, thanks for being here. We've lost your video feed, but no worries. Have a great time. Thank you so much. And we will get on to our next guest. So
congrats. Hey, that's a big get. Congrats, Ray and Constellation team. And he may be there for the snacks, but who cares? He's a big brain. Okay. All right. One of our favorite guests. In fact, if this was Saturday Night Live, he would already have his jacket with number 5, and it would say 6 or 7. But Rchie Etwaru, CEO of Mobeus. As CEO of Mobeus, Richie pioneers the future of virtual labor, something that's top of mind on every CXO I've been meeting with. Driving innovation, strategic growth, and AI-human collaboration to transform industries, enhance efficiencies, and create lasting business impact worldwide. Richie has been appling user interfaces, one reinvention at a time. Any of you who watched him appear on Disrupt over the last 10 years can follow this chronologic historic references of appling UIs. Over the past 2 decades, he has redesigned how humans interact with machines 5 times. Richie replaced mainframes and green screens with GUIs. He turned static PDFs into dynamic, personalized documents. He brought wealth management to mobile with the first iPad app. And then he transformed pharmaceutical engagement by merging marketing, sales, service into single human-centered experiences. By the way, that reinvention led to a major partnership in my company. so my company benefited from that reinvention. Now with Mobeus, he's doing it again. Richie's fifth reinvention is the most ambitious yet, transitioning all self-directed digital interfaces. Please focus on the word self-directed as we speak. Digital interfaces into guided companion-like journeys. The Telly, T-E-L-E, the Telly is his latest invention, patented, purposeful, and built to end digital loneliness. For Richie, this isn't just another evolution. It's one that means everything. And he's devoted, I think, the last 4 or 5 years of his life to this concept we call Telly. And I don't know why he still has dark hair. He should have no hair. Welcome back, Richie, to DisrupTV.
Hey, Vala. Hey, Ray. Thanks for having me. I'm glad you guys were able to make some time for me. I'm happy to update you on where we are, but just listening to the other guests coming in, I think growth is just what every CEO is looking for today. And, when we think about growth, we usually think about how do we use existing technologies in a different way. What's different now is how do we use new technologies in new ways. And I'm really happy to talk a little bit about who we're working with and how we're seeing this opportunity to turn self-directed experiences into guided. It's super exciting, and we are growing ourselves. The entire market is actually a growth story today.
We don't usually ask our guests to talk about their company or the product, but what you're doing is truly revolutionary. So I want to ask you, tell us about Mobeus. Who are you, and why have you devoted the last, maybe the hardest 4 or 5 years of your life? I mean, I know you, and I know when people say blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes it's not all three.
Well, startups,
but for you, it has been.
Startups sound a little bit more glamorous than they usually are.
Yeah.
With Mobeus, the first 3 years was really, really hard engineering. I think you guys remembered when we didn't think we could even get it figured out. And then the fourth year was around product market fit. This last year has just been about growth. We're so excited to talk to customers all the time. The Telly that we put in the marketplace is something that feels like a friend in the screen. And I think this is outside product scope. I'm just going to talk about the market for a second. Vala, imagine if I invited you over to dinner for 4 p.m. This afternoon. And when it's time for you to come over to my house, I open the doors, but I leave. And I leave you self-directed to come into my house and eat. That's kind of what the reality of digital marketing has been for the last, 20 years. We do a lot of work to get the customers to our digital surfaces, whether it's a website or an app or a mobile app. And when they get there, we leave them alone. And so this whole fulfillment of the digital journey that all industries are sort of struggling with is where we bring value. We take the AI models that exist in the marketplace and the powerful data that are in the clouds, right? Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce, Pegasystems, and put all that together to kind of orchestrate it to create an experience where when you came to my house, I was home. And so when you go to someone's website now with a Telly, it doesn't feel like you're being left alone to navigate and bump into the UI and the UX, but instead someone to kind of walk you through it. And that's a big part of the growth that we're seeing.
That's amazing. And by the way, it shouldn't be limited just to digital, because if you've ever been to a physical store lately, I have to tell you, the men and women who are working there do not have technology to help them serve the customer in real time. Ask if something is in inventory, they leave to go look in the back, or if there's an adjacent nearby store that may have the product that you're looking for. So the Telly in the hands of a physical entity in a physical store, to me, can create a magical experience as well. To me, it's not just something that's limited to digital. So
yeah, and it's not just sales; it's service,
right,
and as well. We have one telco, a very large telco company that's in our pipeline, and one of the things that they want to do with the Telly, and again, a Telly is you take everything that you have: buttons, scroll bars, avatars, forms, media, sound, video, and you orchestrate it into an experience that says, welcome, what would you like? Oh, you would like that? Let me show it to you. Oh, you want to know that? Let me bring it forward here. This telco company is thinking about putting it in the stores. So on a large 85-inch screen TV, if the staff in the store just couldn't cater to you right now, how do you walk up to this screen and have a friend in the screen that's going to be able to help you? And I focus on the words friend in the screen and help you a lot because that's what folks are getting excited about. Technology is moving from a machine to a personality. And we're working on that personality, really hard here. Training is important. One of our life sciences customers, we went into production to train nurses and doctors. Now think about that for a second. Training nurses and doctors, it's 600 pages of PDF, 10 hours of video to watch. Vala, Ray, what are the chances that you're going to get people to self-direct themselves through that? Putting a telly in place, they saw 50% of the folks that engage with this get trained in under 24 hours. Whereas in the past, you'd have to beat them all the time with an email or a Zoom call or a flight to Florida to consume that type of information.
So over time, I'm gonna think of a telly as my companion.
Well, yeah, right now,
a friend I trust, someone who knows me.
Absolutely. Right now, what we're working on is we're working as tellies as teammates. So a lot of our go-to-market is B2B to be able to encourage organizations to be able to not leave customers unattended and self-directed. We just struck a partnership with a company that would allow us to put tellies on 1 million websites over the next year. And so we'll be starting to work on when you hit a website, how does that telly become something that moves with you from website to website to website that would respect the privacy that you desire to be able to be that friend that goes with you from screen to screen? We're very excited about that. So there's two sides of this sort of thesis, which is digital teammates that can help customers, but consumers that will have a friend with them that will travel from the surface of one brand to another.
Wow. Ray, you're on mute.
You got digital teammates, you got digital docents. They're all playing different roles as they're jumping in. So when you think about that impact, I mean, that means almost any company can compete at the same level, right?
Yeah,
you have the opportunity to service, you have the opportunity to guide, you have the opportunity to sell. I mean, it's really changing the dynamics for almost every level of competitor.
Yeah, we have a customer that's very excited about this. They sell some large, very premium, complex things. And, a lot of times there's, especially when you buy something premium, there's a little bit of buyer's remorse, right? When you take it home. And if you can't fix it and something goes wrong, that translates into buyer's anger. Right. And service itself is also something that's pretty self-directed. So for service, we're working with them to build a telly where when you appear on the website, hey, how'd you like your device? Oh, my device is not working, ABC. Hang on, let me show you exactly what that should look like. So instead of pointing, clicking, searching, which I think everyone here would agree has a degree of irritation to it, now there's someone to welcome you, to usher you through the process. And I think about this irritation thing a lot. I think we've all been friends here for about 15 years. You know how highly irritable I am. Software really irritates me. And that goes back to the thesis. And Vala, thank you for that long and embarrassing introduction. That goes back to the thesis. Now that I look back, I realize why I have been reinventing UI for the last 20 years. It's because that innate kind of high irritability that I suffer.
Is there something you can show us? Because it's really hard to describe what you're talking about. I mean,
yeah, I think I didn't have that teed up here.
Well, you take your time looking for it, and I'll ask you a different question.
I want to know a little bit more about your design thinking principles when you redesign interfaces and companionships and journeys. You're now approaching it with an AI first mindset. That's my assumption. Those aren't words you've used, but my assumption is because the telly to me is the most it's an incredibly intelligent humanoid avatar. I've seen the Mobeus solution. When I think, and it brings a tremendous level of autonomy to business. It's autonomous in nature. It's choreographing conversations and journeys based on signals that it detects in real time, whether it's in sales and service and marketing. So it's not a command and control type construct. It's not an orchestrator. It's not a conductor. It's a choreography type scenario. At least that's how I feel it when I see a telly in action. And so when I think about choreographed experiences and I think of autonomy, I think about autonomous cars and the realization that even though there's 6 levels of autonomy with a car, It's only when you get to level 5 that you achieve nonlinear outcomes. When you completely let go of the steering wheel, where there are no brake and accelerator pedals, where there are no mirrors,
or steering wheels,
no steering wheels, now you have nonlinear impact because you can be handicapped and you can take advantage of a vehicle. You can be age doesn't come into play. Parking lots are going to disappear, and they're going to be parks and schools and cities. So there's positive externalities that come from it, but only when you go from level 4 to 5. Now, when I see a Telly in action, there's all these nonlinear positive outcomes that can come to sales, service, marketing, commerce, human resource, onboarding, all aspects of business. Does that excite you? I mean, you said this means everything. I'm trying to figure out, why is it so meaningful to you? Because for me, when I see a Telly in action, I see asymptotic benefit. It's no longer a slope that's linear in nature. And it feels like really people have no idea the boundless opportunities that this could bring to a company.
Yeah, look, the market's pretty wide, right? There are many, many self-directed experiences that have to move to guided experiences. But as a startup founder, you've got to put your blindfolds on, right? You have to be able to focus on a specific market and a specific use case. Mine are still about this wide. They need to come in a little bit more. We've got retail, healthcare, life sciences, financial services, automotive, and government. And we're seeing sales, services, and training. In government, it's really, really important. Labor is becoming a conversation in government, and governments are going to spend on AI, and government experiences are one of the most self-directed ones in the world, right? And so we just did a massive collaboration with ThoughtWorks, building the entire Telly on the Google stack, Google Cloud, Google AI. We unveiled it at Google Next, but it's for a state government that wants to service entrepreneurs, people who are starting restaurants, people who are starting businesses. How do you get your EIN form? What certifications do you need? How do you know whether you're zoned for what you need, right? When will your licenses be here, right? Think about that experience right now when you go through a government website and what that feels like. The part of what's unique and what excites me here, Vala and Ray, is how we approach design. Right. The way we're approaching design is the design is dynamically decided based on the guided process so far. So no button that you see in a Telly was predetermined or deterministic. No scroll bar, no image that you see was deterministic. And one of the secret sauces of how we do that is, how do we take down the latency that's currently on the producer side of artificial intelligence, so that the consumption side of it, which are the B2B companies that we sell to, get rid of that latency in real time. You'll recall that we made a strategic choice to not build models ourselves, but to have organizations choose the models they want. Obviously, we're not building clouds ourselves. We're using cloud data. So we've got some unique IP of how we take hallucination down to zero, how we take latency down to zero, and how we get the cost down to zero. We've got the cost of a Telly to be under $1 an hour. So these business cases are really exciting, and that's what's driving the excitement in here.
That's awesome. Awesome.
I have a visual. I'll show you really quickly. And thank you, Ray, for prompting me. And really, this was not planned. I know we're friends, so they're really harassing me here.
We don't normally make our CEOs do a show and tell. That's kind of
this
is
kind
of Ray.
Thanks for that. I really appreciate that. That was very nice of you. But what we're really doing here is underneath the Telly is what we call a Telly path. And a Telly path is, what's that journey that you want to take this consumer on? And so if you think about this, and this is some work we're doing for an automotive company to build a Telly to facilitate test drives, right? So imagine a consumer entering an experience with the Telly here, and where we want to get them to is to book a test drive, right? You got to kind of go through that process. Obviously, this is the showroom in here. We take good best practices that are known. Medic, for example, is the one that we're going to use here. And what we do is we build a conversational graph around, like, what are all the things that you can ask, right, when you're going to go explore a car. And so when you come in, based on the data that's in the cloud and based on the information that we know about you, the marketing dollars that you spent so far has so much information, right, that you could use. There is a happy path through that process. But sometimes, let's say this is a car and you come in here and you come in here and you kind of figure it out. And then you ask about the exhaust and you're off to that side. Well, the telly has to serve your intention. The telly has to be kind. It has to be helpful. Remember, we're focusing on the personality, right? What's the personality of technology? That personality has to kind of bring you back here to remind you why you're here in the first place. So it's the continuation of that marketing journey, but not in a personalized way, but in a dynamic way. What's really happening behind the scenes is every scene that comes back, everything that comes back is really helping you go on that happy path. So the outcome for our customers is incredible, because in a sales path is increased conversion and satisfaction. In a service path is increased resolution and satisfaction. In a training path, it's sorry, somebody started to play the video that I sent you there.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of it, right? That gives you a sense as to why it matters. But I'll pause there.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
I love the fact that it's real-time adaptability towards the mission, towards the finding a vehicle that's going to bring you joy, that's affordable, safe, and meets all your checklist items, and not getting lost in, you know, the noise around you, including exhaust, which I never understand why exhaust comes into play when you're looking to buy. unless some of our guests jokingly said are Italian classics. They have loud exhausts, and some people love loud cars.
Look, you know, below 25, I had a car that I had to put a really big exhaust on to make it feel like a car that I couldn't afford, right? Yeah. And so there is some artistry in the exhaust,
definitely,
of a car. What's interesting here to me is that, you know, folks like myself, yes, I'm highly irritable, but I'm tech forward. I know how to navigate a complex, you know, and we have so many bright people that have been working on UX for the last, 10 years, right? Billions of dollars put into UI and UX. And we get it right sometimes, but we get it wrong a lot of times. But when I think about my mom's generation, when I think about my kids, who, by the way, my kids have been seeing me do this for a while. So when they go to something now, they try to start talking to it and it doesn't work. My wife has to remind them all the time that doesn't have a telly as yet. Your dad's building a startup. This is not the whole world behaves, right? But for certain subsegments that really don't have the built up resilience to the irritation that folks like us have built up, this is incredibly helpful. You know, we're doing work in life sciences where a patient in a clinical trial has a question in the middle of the night. You need somebody to talk to, and a 1-800 number is not going to be as helpful as a telly that can give you something to hear, see, and do at the same time.
Some big companies are partnering with you. Give us some thought. What lessons learned when you're partnering? I saw the logo on your slide. You know, that company represents 750,000 employees, and they've booked, I think, north of $5 billion of AI projects just in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So,
so that's what happens when you put me on the spot. I don't get a chance to sanitize the slides before. But, it's no secret. Look, Accenture is an investor in Mobeus. It's no secret that Accenture has been advising Mobeus on how to bring this to the marketplace for the longest while. The highest density of our relationship with Accenture is in the Salesforce Business Group, which is run by Stephanie Sadowski, and one of our sponsors in there is someone you may know named Brian Powell. You should get him on the show, actually. Really, really smart guy. And what we're working on there is, how do we think about virtual labor and the specialization of that labor for industry? So just like how clouds were verticalized, labor is going to be verticalized. So when we bring the Telly platform, really is going to be called Telly University, right? So the platform itself is, we bring this friend, this helpful personality to you, but it's just out of a bachelor's degree. So our partners like ThoughtWorks and Accenture now have an opportunity to serve clients by building, industry verticalized tellies. How do you take one of these tellies and turn them into a banker that can open checking accounts or can facilitate a mortgage? And how then do you bring that to the various banks and personalize and specialize it that way? Yeah. Same thing with healthcare, life sciences. So that's one of the learnings.
Healthcare, right? Telco, all these places.
Yeah, and the inflection point, a lot of businesses recognize this isn't the first two years post ChatGPT where we had smart interns, smart college students that we could rely on to help us accelerate our research. These are trusted operators. Tellies are taking action. They are an extension of your labor force. And eventually, and very soon, maybe even now, your sales telly, your marketing telly, your customer service and support tellies are coordinating actions amongst themselves. So think of, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but your thoughts about orchestrating multi-agentic capabilities where it's not just a role or a task, but you're going across multiple domains, multiple lines of business. And now you've got enterprise scale tellies. Yep. And these tellies are working with other brands to deliver outcomes. So it's ecosystem tellies.
Yep.
In the absence of a protocol that exists today that allows that orchestration. So smart companies like yourself are really in blue ocean territory.
And look, I think that I was actually going to throw up something here, but I don't have permission for that. I don't know if I had permission for the last one. So real quick, right? A telly doesn't work without an agentic framework, right? It just doesn't work.
So this is the UX for AI, right?
I mean, look, I think Microsoft and Satya has done a really good job at claiming that. So I don't want to claim it to be the UI for AI. I think this is more of just the next generation of UI. It goes back to my roots, my passion, right? All my career, I've been taking friction and irritation without this experience. And that's what I'm working on here. And I'm just really happy that you all would give me the opportunity to tell this story.
Hey, we're here with Rchie Etwaru, CEO of Mobeus, a friend, a BT150 alum, and of course, pioneering the way to new experiences in the age of AI. Thanks a lot, Rchie.
Keep doing what you're doing. Great. Awesome.
Gotta see it. It's pretty wild. I think you and I saw it at Dreamforce last year. It's pretty cool. So
Richie and Mobeus with Team Accenture had a premier tier 1 booth right between Moscone Center, and tens of thousands of people got to see Mobeus. And that hopefully that was the launch of, like you said, year 5 was about growth. I think that moment would perhaps be one of the mile markers on this incredible trajectory that Mobeus is on. He's just never satisfied. Like, the one thing I can say about him, the decade or so I've known him, he just keeps pushing and pushing. And sometimes he comes up with things that are great and he's still not satisfied. So there's some unquenchable thirst that drives him, which I think is a sign of an inventor, entrepreneur. He's got multiple patents and he's a great storyteller, and he's just not sasatisfied. He's just not satisfied.
On experience. He pushes for precision, and that's the best in innovators. But hey,
and
we've got to wrap. Oh my God,
we got to wrap. I wanted you to give us a 30-second summary of the show because you're so good at it.
Impossible. We need GPT for that. But no. Look, we're in a lot of leadership issues are arising. It's really about changing the way we look at leadership. If you go to the Brave Together book, there are a lot of things that people can do. Reflections in the mirror piece, being able to look at how to actually create that level of trust. It's getting the cultures right to be able to think back long term and to be able to ask questions and think differently. And so we got to move to that long term mindset. Esteban, looking at it from the board of directors view, there's so much information. There's a lot of noise. How do you extract the signal from the noise? But more importantly, how do you make that actionable? How do you think about things that are a little bit more long-term? This is why he is the chief distiller at Constellation. He's focused on trying to bring those insights, that nuggets that board of directors are focusing on around tech and governance, and of course, broader issues that fit within our pestle framework. And then Richie is just changing the way UX works for just the way UX works for AI. But more importantly, I think he said something really important. It's moving from that self-directed to guided experiences. And that's where we're going to see the shift, especially in agentic frameworks, and especially in a word that you like. I'll save it for you. That starts with an A one of these days. But that's, that self-direction leads to an autonomous behavior. And I think the combination of that self-direction and autonomous and that guiding, that guided experience, we're going to see a lot of interesting models that are going to change the way we look at revenue, we look at experiences, and of course, we think about the brand. And that's also going to create a lot of opportunities. So there you go, Vala. Not 30 seconds, but we try.
You're better than Claude in perplexity. You're really good. Okay, next week, We're inching our way to episode 400. Believe it or not, Ray, I've met 400 times to do this show. That's 400 weeks of podcasts.
I don't think we counted every episode. We might have missed a few special ones.
I think some of the ones we did on the road, we didn't count. And all of the World Economic shows we've done never counted. And we've done dozens of those. But hey, doesn't matter. We've done 4 official 1-hour Friday shows. But next week is 396. Again, we're inching our way. We have Bruno Kurtic, CEO, co-founder of Bedrock Security. He was the co-founder of Sumo Logic before then.
Yeah.
And Shanda Gore, founder of Maze Associates and author of Pin Leader Path. Identify, engage, develop effective human and AI leadership for your organizational culture. If it's Friday, it's Disrupt TV. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next Friday. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.